Hi, this is Ted. In the last year and a half, I've been reading a lot about artificial intelligence. And one of the big people in that realm, somebody who's been helping a lot, I'm going to be talking about today, is Ray Kurzweil. And I'm also going to talk about Lance Wallnau, who is considered to be a prophet. I'm going to talk about these two because everything I read about Ray seemed to remind me in some ways of Lance. So I thought, why not compare them and bring out the differences, bring out the similarities, and let's get into it. Both predict, but let's get into Lance first. He's a businessman. He writes books. He's chosen with many other people, a group of Christian leaders, to talk to President Trump. And I'm not sure how much he talked with President Trump personally, but he was with that group. And he got a picture taken personally with President Trump. All right, so he's a big thing. He says he does not really need an education, a real education, because God speaks to him directly through his spiritual antennae, I think it's plural, antennae. And he calls himself a prophet. Even so, he does have 2 fake degrees, which he pretends are real. Lance is considered by himself and others to be a prophet or apostle, I think both, in the New Apostolic Reformation. He has been able to revive a 1970s teaching called the 7 Mountain Mandate. And the 7 Mountain Mandate claims that Christians should get in and head up 7 areas of the world's powers. Politics is, in his words, the most important because this is the one that kind of controls all the others. The others are like family and education and media and business, different areas. All right, so who is Ray Kurzweil? Ray got his Bachelor of Science from MIT in computer science. He holds 21 honorary doctorates, has honors from 3 or 4 different presidents, a bunch of awards, and he was the director of engineering for Google. I get 2 different titles for him from 2 different places, and I'm believing that was the original title he had, and he eventually became principal researcher and AI visionary. All right, so anyway, he's big into technology and AI. Both predict the future. Both stood before presidents. Ray, before 4 presidents who honored him. Lance, he got his picture with Trump. Both of them are posturing to some degree or another through prediction. Both live in a world of hype. On the one hand, there is the hype of the kingdom of God is coming. We're going to take the country. And the other one is AI is coming and it's going to take the country. We'll see which one is going to win out, if either. Now, Lance postures. He's a self-proclaimed prophet with 2 illegitimate masters. Well, 2 degrees that are illegitimate. One is a master's and one is a doctorate. He got them from diploma mills. Diploma mills are you can either pay money to get a degree, you put in maybe a few hours of study, you get a degree. There's just different ways that diploma mills work. And in particular, these ones just gave him the degree because they like him. And they're not accredited schools. I will take that back. There's one that I found this in LinkedIn. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but he has one, and probably he has one honorary degree from Oral Roberts University. The rest are pretty much bogus as far as I can tell. Diploma Mill Doctorate, Phoenix University of Theology. Diploma Mill Masters, Southwestern Theological Seminary. Both promote bogus degrees. And the fact that he promotes his bogus degrees tells me that he's willing to exaggerate and create a fake image of himself and worldly status that he has in the world, using the title doctor when he doesn't deserve it and should never use it. The popularity of these degrees in the charismatic circles are indicators of the empty pomp and the facade created among many of the movement's leaders, many who have these degrees and flaunt them. In Jesus' day, many of the religious leaders did the same thing, flaunting their titles and their impressive outward appearances. Jesus claimed these people and their titles were like painted over ornate tombs that looked awesome on the outside, but inwardly, they're like filled with unholy dead men's bones. Ray Kurzweil. Now, as I mentioned, both of these people predict things. Both have made monumental predictions in the past. Lance predicted that Trump would be the president in 2016. Ray predicted the rise of the internet and its impact on society. He predicted advancements in computer processing power. He predicted the development of wearable technology, devices like my smartwatch, okay? Could save my life someday, out biking all by myself in the woods. Progress in speech recognition and natural language processing like Siri and Alexa. He predicted all these things before, long before that they were developed. Both wrote books. Both continue to make predictions. Both are iconic figures within their cult-like following. Whether techies or prophet minions, both are accused of ignoring or downplaying the bad predictions they have made. Both focus most on their accuracies. Now, this is kind of a general statement, true in most cases. When reputation or livelihood is at stake, ignoring failure or finding justifications are very common. You got to watch for this. When people predict the future, when things don't go quite well, reinterpret what was said. I was right, but it happened differently than I thought. Trump was really elected by God, but lost in the electoral. Or the elections were stolen. Either way, it justifies. I was right. Another way that both groups work diligently at is push out the date. It didn't happen now. It'll happen in the future. This is very common when people try to predict Jesus' return. It didn't happen in 1988. It's going to happen in 1989. So you keep on pushing out the date until finally you just give up and say, it did happen, but it happened in heaven instead of on earth. Find some kind of justification to say that you were right all along. Ray sometimes admits that he was wrong. He sometimes reinterprets. Sometimes he pushes out dates. Lance also can admit of being wrong to being wrong. In a recent video, he said that he didn't feel right about a prediction he made. I think it was in the context he's talking about the 2020 Trump election, so I think that's what he's talking about. He didn't feel right about the prediction he made, but he was trusting other people, their predictions, that people that he trusted, that he liked, that he respected, and he went along with their predictions and re-predicted what they said. It's kind of a cop-out, but had Trump won, he'd be the first one to say, I predicted it. If Trump would have won, he would have taken credit. This likewise is very common, take credit for things. I remember reading in a book, there's a guy going through class and everybody's predicting something about a country, that something's going to happen. And because they're going through a prediction class and they're all predicting, and one guy comes up with a totally wacky prediction. And the author of the book says, why did you come up with that prediction? He said, because if these people are right, nobody will remember what they said. But if I'm right, everybody will remember what I said because it didn't go along with what everybody else said. And sure enough, he was right. And then the author of the book went up to him afterwards and said, so you made that up? He said, no, I really predicted it. So he refused to admit the very words he said to the author to begin with. And this is not untypical. We like to take credit for the things that we predict and own it. All right. And whether it's right or whether it's partially right or whether we can twist it in some way, we love to take credit for that stuff. It seems to be human behavior. Now, Ray believes in a utopian future, and you got to understand the future and what you believe to be coming is very important, especially with prophets, but also with people steeped in AI. They both have these utopian/dystopian future predictions. So soon we'll be turning the age backwards. This is Ray Kurzweil. And this is going to probably happen in the 2030s. Soon we'll be able to turn our ages backwards. In other words, in the 2030s, we will be able to add more years than we're losing in our lifespan. That's his prediction. 2045, he says, singularity will usher in a new era. Singularity is where basically AI, computer world, technology, all the above, technology will combine with human, and together there's going to be singularity, and together it's going to be a huge jump forward in intelligence. And it will usher a new era of civilization characterized by abundance, creativity, and the solving of global challenges. Predictions such as we're going to conquer global warming. Intelligence will become so pervasive that it's going to be difficult to distinguish between human and machine intelligence. We will merge with the machine and become transhuman. There's going to be universal income because machines will be doing so much of our work and producing enough money for all of us to live quite well, doing whatever we want. Very utopian, isn't it? Well, Lance also believes in a utopian future if Trump is elected. I think at one time he would have said he's going to be elected, it's going to be utopian, etc., etc. But I think he's being more careful now because of that 2020 election. This is my reading of this whole situation. But Lance believes a utopian future if Trump is elected. But it's going to be dystopian. It's going to be bad if Trump loses. And like many Pentecostal preachers, he likes to blame God's people for the bad. You just didn't do enough. You got to get out there and do better. They like to scold. Bad Christian. Then you get some people like, you're always so good. It goes both ways. God uses both. To succeed in bringing a utopian or / God's kingdom to the United States and the world, Christians need to take all 7 mountains. And those 7 mountains really are what Jesus and the New Testament apostles called the world. Not the kingdom of heaven, but the world. Both of these people predict a lot. Both have wins and both have losses. Losses. Now, I've studied the prophetic movement for several years, and I found the accuracy of the so-called prophets is no better than, possibly worse than, those who predict the future for the secular world. There are slight differences. If anything, I find the prophetic movement is less accurate, with a few correct predictions, which is to be expected. When you're throwing out enough stuff, something is going to hit. This is compared to the monkey throwing the dart. Eventually, one of those darts is going to hit the bullseye. Across the board, predictors, both secular and prophetic, predict the future, change prediction, and they ignore or reinterpret bad predictions. The Bible does not condemn secular prediction in business, sports, weather, and so on. In fact, such prediction is kind of important and often necessary. The Bible does, however, condemn those who use God's name or his authority to predict if that prediction is unbiblical or if that prediction does not come to pass. Now, finally, based on the education and other posturing I have seen with Lance Wallnau, I have concluded that Ray Kurzweil may be wacky in some directions in some of his predictions, but he's got a lot more integrity. And this is Ted.